What's up, Internet? Kevin here with Techville's Lunch and Dinner, bringing you our review of The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time 3D for the 3DS. Now, it's a little awkward reviewing a release like this, as it's a remake of a game that most people already have a pretty clear knowledge of. Now, the original Ocarina of Time came out on the N64 back in 1998, and many fans of the Zelda series consider it to be one of the best ones. If not the best one to be done in three-dimensional movement rather than the original bird's eye view. Featuring exciting dungeons, numerous tools to make use of, lots of hidden areas to explore, and one of the most solid plot lines in the series, Ocarina of Time introduced a lot of people to a new side of the Zelda franchise, and a lot of gamers who grew up with it can recall spending way more time in that one single game than they did in most games back then, or even games today. The 3D port is more or less just that, a port. While featuring some changes in controls and a few new features, overall the experience is very much the same, albeit on a much smaller screen and portable. The controls have been mapped quite successfully on the 3DS, and the bottom screen is also made use of for a very easy menu system, allowing players to quickly tap menu options to get back to the action as quickly as possible. Both Navi and the Ocarina have been turned into touch keys, located on the bottom screen, and usable tools are now assigned to the X and Y buttons, as well as having two hotkeys on the touchscreen. A simple but very welcome change comes with the notorious iron boots, which instead of being equipped in your gear screen, are now treated like any normal tool, and can be equipped and unequipped with a touch of a single button, making the water temple way less tedious. One of the most interesting changes in controls is that while being in first-person mode, whether for looking around or aiming with a ranged weapon, players are now able to not only use the stick, but are also able to move the 3DS itself around to make Link look in that direction. It's a bit awkward when you first discover it, but it's actually quite useful and makes aiming more intuitive once you get the hang of it. While the game can be played in 3D, and looks quite wonderful doing so, it can cause the first-person view to be a little stranger, especially since you need to move the 3DS around, which can screw with your angle of perception. I personally turned 3D off for most of the game while playing, but turned it on occasion during long cutscenes or dialogues. Alongside these changes, the game also added two new features, the first of which are special stones that Link can crawl inside of, which then give hints in the form of visions when players aren't sure where to go next. The game also includes a new boss challenge mode, allowing players to re-experience their favorite fights without having to start a new game every time. While both are pretty minor, they're still welcome additions, and while most players of the original game will make very little use of the hint system, it is a handy new feature for anyone who's experiencing Ocarina of Time for the first time. Overall, Ocarina of Time 3D is a very enjoyable game, but does very little to stand apart from its original. Anyone who's played the original N64 version will find very little in the form of new things to hold their attention, and if you still own your N64 copy, or even the GameCube Master Quest remake, you'll find that purchasing this one may just be not necessary at all. However, if you find yourself lacking a copy and want a really great nostalgia trip, or if you have yet to experience Ocarina of Time, then this is an absolute must-buy, offering one of the best action-adventure game experiences of all time. If you missed out on Ocarina of Time the first time around, then don't let this 3DS remake pass you by. I'm Kevin for TLD, thanks for watching.